everyone, welcome back to another review on the channel. I'm your host, as ever, Purple Midnight 8, joined by the Obsidian Nook, Pestle ASMR.
Hello.
Alright, I didn't finish.
Sorry.
Amelia, or my wife, whatever you want to call it, she is a complete liar. She lied to everybody last review when we
Did you
covered...
say it?
No,
Yeah, you did. You
no.
refer to me as
I
it.
said she is a complete liar.
No,
Anyway,
no.
she is a liar. She told everyone she was going to be doing Scream 3, and here we are, when we covered the original Halloween last week. So, everyone boo in the comments. Or just don't. I don't really care, to be honest. Anyway, we are here with Ready or Not. May I just say, a modern classic that we both really enjoy. Amelia has it on DVD and it is her cup of tea, so that saves me asking her that at the end. However, I probably will anyway. So of course we are keeping up the horror films of this year. Well, for this year, this is our first October of doing spooky months and spooky films. Even though most of the films we have covered have been horror films, because they're the best ones to cover. Because we get to talk about the gore and the murders and all sorts of goodies. That's really good. But we will cover more comedy films and more genres of films once October is over. The last one will be the Halloween special later this month, of course. 2 weeks yesterday. No, I can't count. 2 weeks in 2 days, I should say. So Tuesday, 2 weeks Tuesday, I think. Anyway, we will be covering more films that are not horror afterwards. There's a cat causing chaos outside. Kids! We do not have any fluffs with us today, although they are somewhere. Oh no, there's Starzy eating carpet. Yep, genuinely, he's... Yeah, Starzy did watch this with us, and now he's hungry for some fibre, and he's just ran in because Amelia opened the drawer that contains his treats. So, this is Amelia's choice, so I'll hand her over to you for her explanation of why she chose this film.
Because we wanted something Halloweeny that wasn't related to Scream or Halloween.
Even though, like, when we did...
This is the best you're gonna get.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is it really gonna be... I love that attitude of, this is the best you're gonna get.
Yeah.
We couldn't decide between this and another film that I'm sure she may cover next week, if not for one of the sequels for these. But we'll cover that at the time. We'll get on with... Oh, excuse me, I'm a tired boy. No, Stacy's got his leg up in the air. Anyway, of course, spoilers ahead. This is a review. This is a spoilery review. This is probably a more modern film, so there may be a few more people who haven't seen it. But it's definitely worth checking out. It's really good. All the well, not even set design. The shooting locations are good. All the gore's good. All the performances are good. It's beautiful all round. So this film is directed by Matt Bettinelli, Olpin, and Tyler Gillette, also known as the guys behind Dead Silence, who have made different films, obviously. Can I name any of them currently? No, because I can't think of any off the top of my head. I think they made one recently. Oh, they did VHS. VHS is very popular. Devil's Due, Southbound, Ready or Not, obviously. Oh, they did the 2022 Scream.
Oh, okay.
Which probably... Did they do this? Yeah, they did Scream 6 as well, which explains why Samara Weaving is in that as well as this. Of course, as well as all the VHS films. And apparently a sequel to Escape from New York, which is John Carpenter film that I think we discussed when we did the Halloween a little bit last week. That doesn't matter. But the film is written by Guy Busick and R. Christopher Murphy. I forgot to put it in a review, and I will forget to mention it later on. They do have a very brief cameo when... What's his name? Fitch? When he's looking on the toilet at the video of how to use a crossbow. They are the guys in the video. So, one more spoiler warning as spoiler warning as we get into the film. A little discussion of certain scenes, a little bits and bobs while I just talk for about 20 minutes, half an hour while Amelia colours on her phone.
No,
No,
no.
of course not. So Alex and Daniel Ladomas run through the halls of a manor until Daniel hides Alex inside of a closet. A wounded man named Charles, played by Andrew Anthony, has his position revealed by Daniel and is shot by a masked figure with a crossbow and dragged away. Charles, as we'll find out later on, is the late husband of Helene, I believe is how you pronounce her name, who we'll get to later when we have her introduced. 30 years later, Grace, played by Samara Weaving of the Babysitter fame, the brief cameo in Scream 6. She's in loads of other stuff, but they're what I can think of off the top of my head. She prepares to be married to Alex, played by Mark O'Brien, after only being together 18 months. So, Alex's brother Daniel, played by Adam Brody, who is also in Jennifer's Body, as one of the douchebag cultist band, I want to call them band members. Well, not even that. I don't call them cultists. Actually, they just make a deal with Satan that involves Megan Fox. God, saying Megan Fox reminds me about her performance in the Mortal Kombat game that came out recently, because it is shocking. But anyway, that's a little side rant. Yeah, so Daniel, played by Adam Brody, arrives in order to retrieve the pair for their wedding, and Alex offers Grace the option to leave, but she declines. This is kind of his way of half telling her, like, look, there is danger, but I'm not going to specify it for whatever reason, which he probably should have done. Like, he could have just been like, look, there is... He was worried about him, like, being left by her. But that's just a small detail you might want to mention is if we get married, you will have to possibly play a game where you will die, or you might die. Yeah, her family wasn't at the wedding as far as I can tell, which was weird. But she did say to Becky later on that it's nice to have a permanent family. So I assume she didn't really have a family. More of a, like, maybe she was in foster care or she was an orphan, that sort of thing.
Some point.
I think that's the idea, is that. So Tony Ladomas, played by Henry Zerny, Gazerny, something like that. It's got a C and a Z next to it. Speaks with Daniel as Helene, mentioned earlier, played by Nikki Gordini, something like that. Scowls at Grace. Daniel then speaks with his wife Charity, played by Elise Levesque, while Becky, Tony's wife, played by Andy McDowell, reassures Grace about her nerves. Alex and Grace retreat to the bedroom, not for, well, I think it might have been for some smexy times. Typical.
Weird...
She's the grandma. That's like Tony's sister. Anyway. Alex and Daniel's aunt, I believe, is a way of putting it. Excuse me. So yeah, as we just mentioned, Helene surprises them and tells them the family is waiting for them. Alex explains that as per tradition, someone who is married into the family has to play a game with the family in order to officially become a member. As Grace makes her way downstairs, Stevens, played by John Ralston, who is the butler, plays the piano while the family waits. Fitch, played by Christian Brune, who is probably one of the best parts of this film. He is the comic relief. And Emily Ladamas, played by Melanie Scrofano. This is husband and wife, I should say. Thanks for that, babe. Thanks for your phone not being on silent.
Sorry.
It's so loud as well. Turn it down, then. You're not going to get an important call. Yes, is that it? Anyway. So yeah, Fitch and Emily arrive late to the party alongside their children. Yeah, Fitch is just a nervous wreck. and Emily is a crackhead, like addicted to cocaine, genuinely, which is an interesting choice. So the family head to the game room where Tony gives a breakdown on his company alongside a benefactor named LaBelle. When I read up, is a little play on Belial, I believe is how you pronounce it, which is like a demon. I think that's how you pronounce it. It's something like that. Who gave his grandfather a box. Tony places a blank card inside of the box, and when Grace removes it, she receives the game of hide and seek, much to Alex and Daniel's horror. Stephen shuts off the CCTV and locks the doors as Grace leaves in order to hide as the later Masters, minus Alex, arm themselves. Eventually, the song that counts down finishes and the game begins. Now, before we get into the murders and the hiding and the seeking and the readying and the nottying, their whole thing to do with the board game, like the game, is that their family got rich, supposedly from board games and that, but it was a deal he made with LaBelle. All the board games in the intro sequence are made for the film, which is surprising, made by the prop department and the art department. Absolutely great, because you were convinced that they were real ones that they picked up.
Well, I thought they just got them from like a yard sale or something.
Yeah, they do look so genuine. Like I could see how you would mistake it for real games. Obviously, that would have been a lot harder to get like the rights for on a budget of only $6 million, which is small. But they get a lot done. So Alex escapes from the game room and leaves it to go to his room to meet with Grace. Grace gets bored of hiding in a dumb waiter and tears a dress on it as she gets out. She startles one of the family's maid, Clara, before Alex pulls her into his room. Another little thing, we have to discuss these things. Each stage of the dress in the film was all handmade costumes.
Yeah, I remember watching a video when this came out about the style of her dress and her hair, how each scene they had so many different dresses that were the same, that would slowly alter.
Yeah, which is cool, rather than just using one and progressively just destroying it. Clara investigates, believing them to be one of the children, before she is suddenly shot in the face by Emily. First kill of the film, and it's an accident. Killed by a druggie. When they leave, Alex tells a traumatized Grace that the family needs to kill her before dawn, or they will die. Alex sends her through some servants' passages. I think it's the same one that Helene snuck through earlier and surprised him. As he heads to the security room in order to disable the door lock so she can escape. She unfortunately takes a wrong turn, ending up out a door next to the Lado Masters, being able to escape when a coked-up Emily blindly shoots at her. Yeah, Emily is useless, but somehow she does manage to kill 2 people. Escaping into another room, she is found by Daniel, who doesn't attack her but grabs some alcohol. He apologizes and gives her a head start before he calls the family over to his position. Charity is the first to arrive before being joined by Tony and Helene, then Fitch and Emily. A maid comes in and Emily accidentally shoots her through the mouth with Fitch's crossbow. Yeah, so 2 of the first 3 kills were accidents and just done by some fucking druggie. But then later on when someone else dies, Tony is like, she's picking us all off, and it's like, no. Like, 2 of the deaths were accidents caused by your daughter, and then the other one is like a different accident where the person killed themselves. So she didn't kill anyone, but Tony is still like, she's killing us all. Yeah, so after shooting that maid in the face with a crossbow, the maid survives, but is axed to death by Helene, and the group plan to use the cameras in order to find her. Grace returns to the games room and retrieves a large rifle, I should say. I think it's an elephant rifle. That thing would have absolutely ripped someone in half. And some shells before going to the kitchen to escape. However, unfortunately for her, Stevens arrives as Alex turns the cameras back on. Grace loads her gun and points it at Stevens, who reveals that the bullets inside of it are fake, but she burns him with some hot tea. Alex sabotages the security room as Tony breaks the door down. I've just pressed page down. And the two fight before Daniel stops them, allowing Tony to knock Alex out. Grace continues to run and finds another maid hiding in the dumbwaiter, who calls out to the others. The maid starts it and accidentally crushes and kills herself in the door and is found by Stevens shortly after. Yeah, this was disgusting. It was a very slow death, and blood just splatters out of her mouth.
It's very detailed.
There's a lot of disgusting stuff.
They really went gruesome on that.
It's such a... I believe she did have a name, but for such a minor character that has a name mentioned like once. Like, Jesus, why? So Stevens informs the family of it as Grace listens in from outside the window, listening in... Well...
Point where he was his phone in the bathroom.
Yeah. Grace listens in from outside the window, listening to Helene, who reveals she was Charles's wife from the intro. Grace escapes outside and makes it into the barn where one of the children find her. The boy shoots her in the hand, so she punches him in the face before a goat knocks her into a pit.
This is the bit I loved because...
It's violent, it's gruesome, and it's disgusting.
You know, the fact that that little kid shot her and then she did not hesitate to punch him.
Yeah, she just decks him. And to be fair, violence to kids is not... It's not a strange sight for this channel. I mean, going all the way back to Halloween Ends, where that kid just gets yeeted off a balcony to his death. That was brutal, but that was funny. Like in a horrible way, it was funny.
No, it's just they are at the age where they know right from wrong. I don't think the way she reacted was unreal.
Well, to be fair, she had just been shot in the hand. So in the pit, she is surrounded by dead animals alongside the decomposed corpse of Charles. And possibly some other people who may have died because they dumped the maid's corpses down there later on. Grace climbs back out using a ladder, which breaks underneath her, forcing her to impale her bullet wound in her hand onto a nail at the top. She quickly but brutally forces her hand back off of it, and patches her hand up with a piece of her dress, cursing the boy as she does so. Georgie, I believe his name is, but I couldn't be asked to keep writing Georgie. Hiya, Georgie. Charity sees her fleeing outside and orders Stevens to get in his car and capture her. She escapes through a gap in the fence, which is horrible as well, because as she's squeezing through, she's just being gashed along the back.
And this is very deep.
It was very slow.
It kind of made me cringe a bit, even
though
I've seen it like 3 times now.
It's horrible. So she escapes through the fence where a car doesn't stop to rescue her and is forced to flee when Stevens approaches, finding scraps of her dress left in the fence. Tony is furious at the news that she escaped and a sheer nonchalant reaction from Daniel, and Alex, who is still handcuffed to a bed, calls out to Daniel for help as Stevens continues his search outside. Daniel and Emily dump the maid's bodies into the pit, finding one of Emily's sons that Grace punched. Grace continues to run, but Stevens finds her and attacks her, but she strangles him unconscious using a piece of her dress. Like, this dress is a character in itself for the amount of stuff it goes through in the film. And it's just a weapon she has used to just knock this dude out. But also she's used it to heal herself. It goes through just as much as she does in this film. So Grace calls for help using the car's helpline, but they shut the car down as Stevens reported it as stolen. Stevens catches up and uses a dart gun to knock her out before placing her in the back seat. She awakens shortly after as Stevens celebrates his apparent victory, video calling the family.
With the really weird music running.
Yeah, Stevens is a bit cuckoo. The family watches as Grace kicks Stevens in the head, crashing the car and killing him in the impact. He's a bit bloody. He doesn't go like full head smashed in like in Halloween 2. But yeah, that motherfucker's dead. So Daniel confronts Grace at the wreckage, and he holds her at gunpoint before knocking her out. Becky sits with the captive Alex and apologizes for what's happening to them, and she claims that he is better off with his family as opposed to a girl who he barely knows. Although his family are pieces of shit, they're not far off. They're not. She's not wrong. They'd only been together 18 months, and then decided to get married. And then she's like, well, she doesn't really know you like we do.
Are we in a judgment to make that kind of
We've been
judgment?
together longer. We're technically not married yet. And
Yeah, but we pretty much know everything about each other, so...
yeah.
And it's only been 2 years. So,
Yeah. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Pretend I'm not. Well,
sorry,
unlike his family, they aren't trying to hunt you down, and they.
Like done it or so.
Well, we'll move on. The family prepares for the final ritual in their own separate ways. Grace awakens tied to the board to the game room's table as the family surrounds her, taking sips from a goblet. Before Tony can stab her, the family begin to vomit blood minus Daniel, who cuts her free as Alex finally breaks free from his own restraints. Daniel and Grace are found by Charity, who holds them at gunpoint before she shoots him in the neck. Grace disarms Charity and knocks her out with a gun before fleeing at Daniel's request as he begins to bleed out. Tony once more attacks Grace, but she bludgeons him unconscious, starting a fire with a lantern. Becky finds and attacks Grace as Alex begs a dying Daniel not to die on him, but of course he does die, which is a big sad. Grace manages to overpower Becky and beat her to death using LaBelle's box as Alex enters the room. Grace backs away from him and he realizes she can't trust him anymore, so he grabs and subdues her, calling out to the others. And the others enter the room just as the sun begins to rise outside. The group begin the ritual with Alex taking the knife, however at the last moment Grace breaks free. The sun finally shines through the curtains on the family, however, nothing seems to happen. Helene insists on killing Grace anyway, but suddenly she and the rest of the family members explode as the hide-and-seek song plays. So yeah, the whole film they've been like, oh, is the curse real? Like, do we really need to be doing this? There's all this shit about them worshipping Satan, which is a whole other thing in itself. So everyone who dies is Helene, basically anyone who's not dead. So including the kids get splattered. Practically as well, they used cannons full of fake blood and just... Yeah, that was nasty. It doesn't kill Alex though, as he survived the game. So he and his wife are fine. So Alex tries to seek forgiveness from an amused Grace, who's just laughing at everyone dying, but she takes her ring off and throws it at him, saying she wants a divorce, which, as a result, explodes Alex as well. LaBelle briefly appears in his chair and gives Grace a nod. So Grace staggers back outside as the house burns behind her, smoking one of Becky's cigarettes as the police arrive and the film ends. And there we are. Ready or not, hide and seek, whatever. It's done. Very enjoyable film. Had lots of moments that made me laugh and
I'm
lots
glad
of...
you like it because I generally think you were gonna.
Of course I was going to. Oh, excuse me.
Yeah, but some of the stuff I've chosen before, you've been like, no.
It's mainly your like indie films that you've like chose for us to do it, and I've just been a bit like, eh. But no, you do have some good choices, especially when you pick films that are a bit more mainstream, as opposed to your little indie ones. Because then I'm like, oh, it has a bigger budget, so like the cast members are a bit more well known, that sort of thing. And the gore and the blood are usually better because of budget reasons. Unless it's, I find it difficult to watch dramas because it's just, it kind of bores me a little bit. Like, I'm fine with it, but like, we're never doing a rom-com unless it's like actually decent. or just romance films bore me. I don't know. We might cover some, we might not. They're definitely not going high on the list because I just can't stand them. But yeah, overall, this film was really good. You should really check it out. Like, the twist at the end is kind of, well, it's foreshadowed throughout the entire film. Some of the deaths are as well, but realistically, it was really good. But it's definitely enjoyable. You can sit down and watch it a few times and enjoy it. Like, definitely watch it twice because you can see some of the foreshadowing and little hints about what's to come. But other than that, there's not much more to say. Amelia has this on DVD, and obviously it's her cup of tea, so we don't need to ask her that. Sorry, I just banged the mic by accident. So we agreed on best kill, worst kill for this one. The worst kill went to Stevens because we had a car accident in Halloween 2 that was a lot more gruesome. Just a little bit of blood probably wasn't enough, if I'm honest. But best kill, we agreed on literally everyone else who dies in the film. Everyone's deaths are really good. They've all got good gore. Surprisingly, minus Charles at the start, everyone's death is like on screen, which is good because off-screen deaths, it's just a wasted potential. But anyway, those were our thoughts on Ready or Not. Thank you ever so much for listening. It's my turn at some point. We've been a bit off with our scheduling, and our recordings and viewings, but we'll be back in a few days either way. I've, of course, been your host at Purple Midnight 8, joined as ever by my wife, kind of. Ironically, a film about marriage. I've been joined by my wife, the Obsidian Nook, Pale ASMR.
Our co-host is back.
Stasi has finally returned. I think he believes he may have missed it, and he has. He did watch the entire film with us and have a good snooze. So, we will see you in the next one, and thank you ever so much for listening.